Okay, good evening and welcome. My name is Nathaniel Welch. I'm co-chair of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee, and I'm calling this public meeting to order at 7:02 p.m. This hybrid meeting is being recorded, and today's agenda was posted on the committee's website on the 2 days ago. And this meeting is held under the authority of legislation that authorizes remote and hybrid meetings until March 31st, 2025. And in the event of technical difficulties from which we cannot recover within 5 minutes, this meeting will be ended and all matters on the agenda that have not been heard will be continued to our next meeting. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. And tonight, the minutes for tonight's meeting will be taken by committee member Adrian Boardman. Adrian, thank you, as always. And at this time, I will ask the committee members to indicate that they are present when I call their names. Mary Beth Barker.
Present.
Adrian Boardman.
Present.
Brian Krautz.
Present.
Dorcas Miller.
Present.
And I do not, Nat Welch is here, I'm present. So we have 5 of 7 members here, and we have a quorum, so this meeting will continue. And our first agenda item is to approve the minutes from the June 22nd meeting. Are there any edits to the minutes that committee members want to suggest for that meeting? Those were sent out to you earlier by Adrian. Thank you, Adrian.
Move to accept the minutes. Yes.
Move to
I
accept. Okay, and we have a second?
I second.
Okay. So I will do a roll call vote now to approve the minutes of the June 22nd meeting. Mary Beth Barker.
Approve.
Adrian Boardman.
Aye.
Brian Krautz.
Aye.
Dorcas Miller.
Aye.
Nat Welch also says aye, and the minutes are approved. First item of business is the town update memo from Erin Stevens. I'd like to invite Erin, who's the acting director of planning and land management, to provide her monthly update. Erin, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for the title upgrade.
Oh, wow, you earned it. I'm not sure what you're in charge of, but I like the title.
I'm just the senior planner, but I appreciate the title upgrade, even if it's in name only.
Okay.
So thank you all. I do want to apologize for getting it to you so late. We have been short-staffed in the planning office, and so it has been quite a feat to get everything done on time. And we had several grants due today, so I was working overtime trying to get those finished up. So work on the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Phase 2D continues. I got an update today from the former director here, Marsha Rasmussen, who is now working part-time in Sudbury, helping out with their Bruce Freeman Rail Trail work, saying that fine grading of the trail is anticipated for the next section of the rail trail between North Road, which is 117, and Sudbury, and Powder Mill Road in Concord next week. The base course asphalt is being installed now, and we are excited to see that continue and see where it takes us before the winter months hit. Unfortunately, we still do not have a date for the new ribbon cutting. I have asked numerous times from the state, and they keep pushing it off and it's not responding. I will let you all know as soon as I do. I am hopeful that we will get one before the snow flies, but perhaps it will be a phase 2D and 2B joint ribbon cutting. Let's see. The Junction Park planters, as you all know, the site visit to see the placement of those planters in Junction Park was canceled due to the rain. We sent out a doodle poll for everyone to fill out if possible so that we can get a new date on the books. We have not yet finalized that, but once that is we will set a new site visit date and time, and that will be sent out for everyone to attend, along with the other committees that are interested in joining us. The Concord Prison Cemetery project, which I believe we're going to be speaking about a little bit later. It has been slightly altered from its original plan so that the work is now being completely done within the right of way for the Bruce Freeman. It's a lot easier to work that way as opposed to going actually into the cemetery, which was, I believe, the original intent. I am currently working on creating a contract and proposal documentation, which is necessary to move forward in the process. And we'll hopefully have that done in the next week or two so that we can get moving on the basic design work, which is being done through the CPC funding. So it is being done through the planning department here in Concord, but working with MCI Concord and the Department of Corrections, as well as the Concord Prison Outreach Group. What else? As a part of that work, we also have survey work, which the expected quote came back nearly double what we were expecting. So I'm going back and speaking with them to see where we might be able to sort of trim maybe the square footage of what we're actually looking at in the survey, perhaps taking out some of the, we were going to go and tag a bunch of the trees to see exactly where they are on the land that we're looking at so that we can perhaps get a quote that fits better into our budget. And then I think that the last thing to go over is there have been several things that have been raised regarding both permanent and temporary items on the Bruce Freeman. These include signs, benches, interpretive art installations, memorial bike racks, among the many things that have been brought up. I am working to get a meeting with several different departments which will be involved so that we can take all these different things and maybe come up with, or maybe there already is a policy or procedure that I am not aware of, so that we are able to move forward and speak with all of those individuals that are interested in completing that work and see what we are able to do there. And I believe that that is it.
Okay. That's great. First, are there any committee members who have questions? Yes, Dorcas.
Has anybody complained about the 645 state of the work on the rail trail? I know my house starts shaking at 645.
I'm sorry,
Sorry,
You haven't noticed?
I think
Erin?
Dorcas was asking if any residents have complained about the 6:45 a.m. start of work on the rail trail, because she's in a butter to that
I see.
area. Yeah.
I have not heard any complaints. I got a question in the last 2 days from someone who was looking to rent in the area, asking about construction noise and how long it would continue, what sort of noise to expect, things of that nature. But I have not received any complaints about the construction noise. They may be going to the contractor, but we have not heard much from the contractor. So I haven't gotten any complaints.
I'm not
Okay.
complaining because I'm up, but some people might not be.
I was gonna say, is there one now?
No, I'm not complaining. I can live with it.
Okay.
Other questions for Erin? Erin, I have a question about the two things about the cemetery plan. Do we have any copies of sketches or so on as to what the area will look like?
So there have been some preliminary concepts that were submitted to the CPC
Okay,
because they are looking to receive CPC funding for the actual construction.
right.
The design work we believe can be covered within the previous CPC funds that have been designated. But that information, the concepts, I believe are on the CPC's website.
Okay, and I believe that a member of that group that's doing the work wanted to have a chance to speak in front of the committee tonight. So I don't see them yet. I think Elizabeth was going to be, I think it's Elizabeth Rust, if I remember correctly, is going to be joining us at some point. So we can hold off on that question for right now. On the second question I have regards the requests you were talking about for benches or memorial bike racks or things like that. Can you say a little bit more about how many you've gotten and what type of requests they are?
Sure. So, for instance, the benches, we have gotten a request from the Friends to explore whether we could accept a donation of funds to put in a bench, essentially. That is something that we are looking into. Essentially, is the installation, would it be covered under CPW's budget? Is that something that they had planned for? Is that something that they can absorb? Is that something that could be included in the donation? What's the cost of the bench? Things like that. So we're having those discussions. The interpretive, I'm calling it an interpretive art installation. It's specifically it's a phone, an old-fashioned phone booth. You pick up the phone and hear poetry read to you.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I have not come across something like that before, and so I'm trying to figure out the best course of action for who to speak to about that. What
Right.
sort of, if that would have to go through historic districts, or if that would have to go through, this committee or the town manager's office, and trying to sort of figure out who the best people to discuss that with are. Similarly, I know that in the past, I've spoken to, when Marcia was here, that I believe a discussion was had early on about not having memorial
Right.
of any sort along the rail trail. I believe it's something that's also been discussed in other parts of town. But I'm not 100% clear on that. So that's something I need to follow up on, and also see if there are certain locations where it is allowed, or perhaps certain types of things are allowed. So I'm digging into that a little bit more to further understand.
So I think my experience has been in the last three plus years is that we have been any kind of thing that would be placed in the right of way has been brought before the committee for us to have conversations about. And then if it required, then we make some sort of a recommendation or not. But with a recommendation, then it goes to the town to carry it out. So we've had some interpretive art exhibits that one of the classes did that was pretty much temporary, but covered from Williams Road to Powder Mill Road. I think Marcia's policy was to resist adding things to the trail because it was planned out in a certain way. And so I think we want to, I think the policy has been essentially to not look to add permanent things to the trail unless they were part of the original design, like the interpretive signs for the white houses across from the prison. So I think if you have anything, I think it's the folks that bring up the idea should come to the committee and say, here's what we'd like to do. That's what Elizabeth Russ did with the cemetery idea.
Great.
And then we'll have a public conversation about it, and then come back to you and say, yeah, we're going to recommend that we do this. And then the town kind of gets involved because the town owns the right of way and has to process it. Now, I will defer to Terry Ackerman, who is a member of the Board of Selectmen, if she has anything she wants to add to this, but I think our policy has been, reasonably restrictive in terms of adding new things to it, except for temporary art exhibitions. I think we've been open to that. Terry, do you have anything you want to add?
Nothing to add. Thanks, Nat. I'm learning along with the rest of you. I don't have anything to add, but thank you. I can look into something if you'd like, but I don't have anything right now. Thanks.
So I think, Aaron, with anything that's come up, we should go ahead and have it brought up at one of our next meetings, and then we can have an open conversation.
Great, that makes my job a little bit easier too. So.
Yeah. Well, you got enough on your plate, as it were. Hold on a second. My phone is making weird noises here. Okay, there we go. Barbara Pike, you had your hand up.
Yes, Barbara Pike, 118 Border Road. I have a comment and I have a question. The Friends have received several inquiries about benches south of Main Street. There's nothing. No place for a person who might need to sit down and take a break to sit down, unless you want to sit on a stone. So I would like to throw that into the mix. And I have a question about the construction past White Pond. We've also gotten inquiries about what kind of fencing will be placed there. I know a number of different options had been discussed over the years, and I don't really know what the design ended up being.
Right. That
I'm
was
talking about the pond side.
yes. Yeah. So those are your
Question,
two.
what's fencing?
Okay, so on the fencing, there was a lot of discussion about that. You may recall there have been a number of meetings related to that. In the end, MassDOT had the final say as to what fencing would be installed, and the fencing that is in the 100% plan is what is going to be installed. If you don't have access to that, we can get it for you. But essentially, there's going to be less fencing than some people originally wanted. But the fencing that will be there will be, for safety purposes and to keep people on the right of way. Other members of the committee may want to add to this if they have.
So, Nat, is it going to be like 3 rail fencing?
I believe it's 3 and 2 rail, depending on which side it's on.
Okay.
The MassDOT had a very specific set of requirements. At one point there was a discussion about putting some sort of a ornamental metal fencing along a very long stretch next to the pond, and that was discussed. It was passed on to MassDOT, and they turned it down. But the 100% plans do have all the fencing in there. Aaron, I don't know if there's an easy way to get a description of it out of that, but maybe we could do that and pass it on to Barbara.
Sure. The plans are also, I just checked, under the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Committee's Phase 2C/D plans and information. So it is available on the website under the Bruce Freeman.
Yeah. It's a fun 165-page read because I've gone through it. But it is very specific about what goes where. And so if anybody has any questions, Barbara, that they come to the committee, I guess maybe the first place officially to turn would, I don't want to give Aaron more work, but maybe they could look at the plan, which is on the website. And if they have further questions, I mean, I'd be happy to chat with them and tell them what's in there so that Aaron doesn't have to do it.
Yeah, I don't think the plan is particularly easy reading.
It's not, but it's very detailed and everything is in there.
If the committee would like, I can quickly screen share. I brought up a presentation from before, which has the fencing picture, which I believe is what the fencing will look like.
Let's take a look.
All right.
Thank you, Aaron.
So I believe that this is the fencing that
Yes.
was chosen.
Which matches the fencing and the rest of the trail.
So this is also available on the website, under that same plans and information for phase 2D.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about the report? Okay. Thank you, Erin, for your work. And congratulations on your promotion. No, just kidding. Next, move to committee business. I apologize for the background noise. There's some dog in here who's barking and I have no control. The next item is the Concord Reformatory Cemetery project. It shouldn't say celebration on it. I think that was my typo. There should be 2 lines, the cemetery project and the phase 2B celebration. So on the cemetery project, I thought someone from that group was going to be here. Is there anybody else in the room, Erin?
No,
Now the waiting room has been disabled, so everyone that we have here is,
It shows up. Okay.
yes.
All right. So Elizabeth, I want to say Rust. I think that's correct.
Yes, Liz Rust.
Excuse me?
Liz Rust.
Liz Rust, right. Has asked that the committee write a letter of support to the CPA for, I guess they're doing a further funding request. And so I wanted to bring that up in front of the committee. As you know, the project has been in the works for a couple of years, and I think in all of our discussions we've been supportive of the idea. So I'd like to make a motion that the committee authorize the co-chairs to draft a letter of support for Liz Rust's proposal to the CPA. I don't know how much is in that request, but with that motion, I'd like to open it up for discussion with the members. Any comments, questions?
no, I think given the proximity to the rail trail, especially now so that things have been rescoped, I think that it makes sense for us to lend our voice of support so the CPC knows that, they went through all the proper channels and, liaison groups to make sure everyone was on board. So I think it's a good idea. Oh, Matt, you're on mute.
Sorry, Terry, your hand is raised.
Right, just point of clarification, this is a CPC request for what project?
The project is to create a contemplative space next to the West Concord Cemetery, prison cemetery. It's been a conversation's been carried on with the Department of Corrections, the Historic Commission. Sorry. And the idea is to create a place where people can learn a little bit about what happened at the Concord Reformatory over the last 100 years, with people who were there and who died there and are now buried in that cemetery.
Okay, the reason I'm confused is, you okay, Nat?
I'm getting over pneumonia, so that's why I
Oh.
pause occasionally and cough, so pardon me.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you're getting over it. Okay, the reason I'm confused is Liz Rust, I think is the person you said, and she is our regional housing consultant. She works on affordable housing. And does this project connect to housing in some way, or is it separate?
No, it doesn't. Hold on, let me see if I can pull up her email.
So she's a member of the Concord Prison Outreach Group, and they are the ones who are
Got it.
pursuing this.
Okay,
You just
thanks.
happen to know her name because of her work with the town.
Oh, okay, so it's it's a totally different project. She's a member of the prison outreach group. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay. Are we good? Okay.
If it's helpful, I can give a little bit of background. I pulled up the CPC application.
Thank you. That would be great.
So the Concord Prison Outreach Group has requested $45,000 in CPC funds. The project is, like I mentioned before, supposed to now be completely within the Bruce Freeman right of way. So we aren't going to be looking at anything that is protruding into the state's lands. That makes it a lot easier in terms of easements and making sure that the project can move forward smoothly. I know that previously that was something that had been discussed, but after speaking with the Department of Corrections, it was decided that that was going to add a lot of unnecessary difficulties. So if we were able to do it within the right of way, that was the best way to do that, which is why we are completing that survey work. So we know exactly where the right of way ends for the Bruce Freeman. The project is going to include interpretive panel, a sitting area, an online gallery, and community curating, which is creating public awareness and education. Let me see if I can pull up the image really quick.
And while she's doing that, one of the things that the outreach group did is they engaged a group of young artists to do some interpretation based on the people who are actually buried there. They did some really amazing artwork, and all of that's in the library, in the Concord Library. It's digitized and is available. So been a really interesting collection of people who've been involved in doing this work. Go ahead, Erin.
So this is the interpretation, concept, idea, whatever you want to call it, of what this could look like. So it's, you know, pulling the that same split rail fence along to continue that and create, so that we're not encouraging people to necessarily wander into the cemetery, so that we're not degrading the graves or the markers at all. It would include that interpretive panel right here, which mirrors the panel on the other side, which is existing. And looking to possibly, there's a couple of different options that, if I scroll up here, hopefully I don't make anybody seasick, I'm sorry. Oh, sorry, they're further up than I thought. So there's a couple of different bench options that they are looking at. Something that will sort of blend in with the surroundings so that it feels like it's always been a part of it. So that it does feel separate from the benches that are sitting across currently from the spot that they're looking at. But this is looking to be completely contained within the right of way, like I said before. So it is just this small area so that you can sort of pull off to the side, read about what is happening, and sit and look out into the cemetery if that is what you choose to do.
And it's a this location is a couple of 100 yards from Commonwealth Avenue. So as you're heading from the Route 2 bridge towards West Concord, you may notice it when you drive in on Route 2 before you hit the Rotary. It's a kind of a hillside off on the right. And I think this is a great way to memorialize and the people who've been a part of Concord's history for 150 years. Any other discussion or questions? In that case, I'd like to have a vote on first, the motion is to have the co-chairs draft a letter of support for this project to the CPA. Going to have a second on the motion,
I'll second.
and I'll do a roll call vote. Mary Beth Barker,
Yes,
Adrian Boardman,
Yes.
Brian Krautz,
Aye.
Dorcas Miller. I'm sorry, is that a yes?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. Nat Welch votes yes, and the motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is to do a discussion of the Phase 2B celebration. Given Aaron's update, that there is nothing scheduled yet, I will take it upon myself to reach out to our representative, Simon Cataldo, and just see if he has any information. He's been helpful in the past. So I'll see if he or his office can get back to you, Aaron, see if they can move the DOT off of its point to get them to move that ahead. Junction Park update.
Nat,
Yes.
Barbara,
sorry,
I have a hand up.
Yes. Go
Did
ahead.
I forward to you the email I just got from Simon Cataldo's aide, Kyle?
When would you have done that?
Just this week?
I have been, I don't remember seeing it, but I'm not totally up to
Okay, well, I might not have sent it to you. The gist of it was that MassDOT has nothing scheduled. And they were suggesting that, you know, that the Friends might like to sponsor something, which I don't think we would. We'd be happy to help out. We have the bandanas. The cake has been on order since June. But I don't necessarily see the Friends taking the lead. However, Richard had some ideas. So all I'm saying is, I don't think the Friends would take the lead, but we'd be happy to support an effort.
Friends
And
have
it
always been
doesn't sound like MassDOT has any plans to do anything.
right. So I think an official ribbon cutting ceremony is MassDOT's, you know, they're accountable for doing that. So I'm gonna see if we can get Simon to ask MassDOT to either say, yes, we're gonna do it, and here it is, or we're not gonna do it because of X, Y, and Z, so we can at least get clarity on what their intent is. So I think that's I'd like to get some clarity on whether MassDOT is actually interested in doing a ribbon cutting. And if they are, then we can follow along with them. If they're not, then we can decide what we want to do. How do committee members feel about that?
it's fine.
Okay.
seems reasonable.
And Barbara, don't cancel the order for the cake yet.
We've already paid for it. I just had to get my money back. But we still have 200 of the yellow map bandanas. And my fallback position is just to set up a table and a canopy and a banner out there,
Right.
you know, by, you know, near Commonwealth some Saturday morning and hand out maps, newsletters, and bandanas to whoever passes
Okay.
by. And I'll set aside some for the committee. But we need to get rid of the bandanas.
Okay. Mary Beth, did you have something?
No, I was just gonna say, and also hand out cake.
Okay.
Well, I think probably if it were that level, we would cancel the cake.
Oh, okay.
If
Great.
the problem is, which you may know, we run into a lot of problems with the Board of Health and their requirements. You want to, I mean, like warm water on site for washing hands out there by Commonwealth.
I'll leave that conversation up to the committee who oversees the Board of Health.
All right. Well, I'm just saying that's why we probably would not do cake. It's
Right.
just too much of a hassle.
Yeah, or else do it in Acton. Right. So, okay. Next item on the agenda is Junction Park. Site visit update, Aaron has already given us information on, and so we're waiting. And just for all the committee members, I think, as you know, the select board last year asked the town staff to come up with an approach that includes planters and to involve the Commission on Disabilities, the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail Advisory Committee, and the Concord Green Thumbs. And the town has been doing a masterful job of choreographing these groups, and the weather has gotten in the way. So I'm hoping between now and our next meeting, we'll at least have a site visit where we can review the placement of the planters. Second item on the list for Junction Park is the safety issue. I have been pretty much out of the country out of the Concord since September 1st. So I have not been over to the West Concord station to see if any work has been done on the gap in the rails on the pedestrian crossing. I don't know, Mary Beth, if you've been down there you haven't? Okay.
I have not, no.
So I plan the next couple of days to head over there and take a look to see if it's still a safety issue. But this has been, we had 2 people get stuck over the past few months, and it's still something we need to keep an eye on. So I will email the committee once I discover what things look like over there, and keep people up to date. Any questions on that or in Junction Park? I'm opening the floor to any committee member questions, concerns, or comments. Okay. Any comments from our select board liaison that she would like to share? Oh, you're muted.
No, I don't have any, thank you.
Great, and thank you for being our liaison. It's a dirty job, but someone has to do it, Tara. Any members of the public who wish to make a comment or raise a question? Okay.
My hand is up.
Your hand is up, Barbara. Sorry, your hand never went down. So yes, thank you. Is your hand
Oh, it did go
Barbara?
down. Some time ago, the town and the advisory committee rescinded the walk your bike in Concord Park rule, and the official town rail trail map that was prepared in February has changed the wording from walk your bike to whatever, slow your pace.
Slow your pace.
Yeah, and that's the
Places,
map that
special
the
pace.
Friends have printed and are distributing. But what could be confusing is that when people enter the park from Main Street, there is still a sign that says walk your bike. And so it's possible that some park users are expecting that cyclists are supposed to walk their bikes. And I think it would be really helpful to just take that sign down so that there's not an expectation of park users that there's a rule that cyclists should walk
Right.
their bike. It'd be possible to remove that sign? Just take it off the post?
I thought there had been discussions about rebranding that sign. Is that part of the Junction Park
Recommendation.
scope overall? But I think there's a proposal for what that sign would be changed to.
We've been stuck on the planters, I think.
Yep.
And the rest of the recommendation was pretty specific about what happens at the entryway. So Barbara, I think that's where that gets discussed. I think once we get past the planter conversation, we can refocus on what happens in the entrance to the park from both ends. And I think at that point is when we would readjust the signage.
Well, if it's not the rule, then I'm not sure why we have it posted.
That's a great question.
I guess, could
I'm
we
sure-
consider a recommendation to the town to remove the sign until a new one is agreed upon?
Sure, we could definitely do that. Should we have a discussion with the committee? How do committee members feel?
I think it would be a good idea to remove the sign.
Okay,
I think it does create an expectation and creates a lot of confusion.
other member comments? Okay, make a motion that the committee recommend to the town to remove the specific sign at the entrance to the park that says walk your bike. Can I have a second?
Second.
Well, I guess, so what does that recommendation look like? Is that as simple as like an email to Erin saying we recommend this? So that's what we mean, right? Okay.
I think that's how it
Okay.
works. And a copy to the town manager. And it's in line with what our recommendation was last June to the town. And so we'll do a roll call vote on that motion. Mary Beth,
I,
Adrian,
Aye.
Brian. Brian, are you muted?
Aye.
Thank
Aye.
you. Dorcas,
Aye.
Nat Welch votes aye. The motion passes unanimously. And the execution will be one of your co-chairs will send a email to Erin and the town manager. Dorcas.
I just have one comment. I've spent quite a bit of time in that park recently. The only people get off the bike that tend to be the kids. The adults, especially the ones on e-bikes, just go barreling through. They don't care. They run right into you. They don't care. It's the e-bike people that are scary.
They're causing the issue. Yeah. Yeah, and we haven't tackled the e-bike question yet. And it's not clear that, I mean, we've had this conversation before that making a rule doesn't necessarily make people follow it.
Right. But I know I pretty much almost got wiped out. So did my husband last time we were down there.
Okay. Mary Beth?
I think we have had discussions, and this relates back to the whole entranceway about posting speed limit signs,
Mm-hmm.
as well as slow your pace signs that indicate a specific speed limit, which I don't remember what it was, but I don't think we're ready to do that yet, but we have discussed it. I think after the planters, we go back to all of that, right? I mean, that would be,
I think it makes sense. I also think it's worthwhile to bring it up while we're having the planter discussion.
mhm.
Is to think about that. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to legislate human behavior.
I did hear, while we're talking about planters, I did hear from through some people in the Disability Commission concern. They had that I guess the planters were put in place for a very short time when they expected that they were going to have the meeting. They got hauled out and put in place. And I heard some concern by people who saw it that they are very, very big and that the space between them is kind of narrow. And this person encouraged anyone that used any kind of a device to make sure that you brought it to the bring
Right.
your wheelchair, your walker, or whatever it is you use to that joint meeting of trying it out. So be interesting.
Yeah, I think it would be important to have all members of the community there, but especially those that use some sort of device.
Yeah.
To really be able to measure it out. And that's, I think, when the Green Thumbs and the Commission on Disabilities and I met with Erin and Megan, this is part of the discussion was how do you making sure that we understand and are observing how these planters are impacting flow. So I encourage you to bring everybody, when we finally have this meeting, so we can have these issues out in the open.
Including strollers.
Including strollers.
Yeah.
Double and triple wide strollers too.
Yes. Yes. All those
One
people
thing-
with quadruplets, they need to show up. with a-
Or twins. We do have members of on this call who will be using double strollers.
I will bring a double stroller.
Okay, good there. That's what I want. Okay.
Yeah.
Dorcas, I don't know other than getting down there and having these conversations, what else we can do at this point. I think the e-bike issues both in the park and on the trail.
One of the things the safety subcommittee discussed was, should we hand out those little bells so people can ring them? And
Right.
they're gonna wipe you out, give you a little notice.
Before
that's-
they hit you? Okay,
You're right.
right.
I don't know.
Right.
I mean, it just seems like people are not. I've been on rail trails where people are very good about saying on your left. They're not
Yeah.
doing it in concert.
Yeah.
So we do need an education program, but maybe we need little bells too.
Yeah. I mean, having ridden rail trails all over the US now, there seem to be practices that some rail trails have about there's more lineage on the trails, not just at the intersections. There are things on the trail that remind you to stay right, pass left, or signal before you go. Little signifiers that other ones are using. I think that's worth us thinking and learning from what others are doing. I mean, I have contacts in Arlington County in Washington, and they have like 300 miles of rail trails in their county. We started to talk about what are their best practices, what have they learned, and that could be a good place for us to get some ideas. That would also, I think, flow to the other towns who are on the Bruce Freeman about and Barb, I think your group as well as anybody, because you've been kind of driving the thinking of the consortium of towns to think about what are we missing some simple ideas to help people be a bit more thoughtful about how they use the trail.
Well, we're hoping to have the new rule signs shortly.
Right, the new rule signs will be helpful. I'm also thinking, like in Rhode Island, I know in a couple of the trails I've ridden on, the lines are more distinct throughout the along the whole trail, separating out the two, and there's more reminders of please call out when you pass. I mean, again, you can't legislate what people do, and you don't want to paint over everything with stuff on the pavement, but I think it's worth at least talking to other jurisdictions who are working on these issues to maybe learn from them as we kind of figure out what's the right path for us. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for
No.
October
No. Okay.
October
Sorry.
26th. I remember. Hold on, October 26th. Okay, great, thank you. So the next meeting will be October 26th at 7 p.m. I'd like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Are you having public comments?
Oh, we were having public comments.
Oh,
Sorry, maybe I wasn't as clear as I should have been. Barbara, Pike.
I'd like to hear from Aaron about the bike shares and, how it was funded and how it's going, and, I mean, it's, and particularly the two, three-wheelers. What can you tell us about how this is going?
Sure. I don't have all the stats in front of me, sorry.
It's okay.
But the program has overall been going well despite all the rain that has certainly dampened the expected number of participants that we were hoping to have. It's actually very interesting to see because we typically have the most riders on weekends, or most rentals on weekends. And because it was something like sorry, I'm gonna make up a number here, but out of the 20 weekends that we had, 15 of them rained or something like that. And you could definitely see the dip in numbers on those weekends. So it was very interesting to see. But I think that the expansion to Acton has been really positive. And since Acton opened their bike share locations in August, we've seen a lot of people traveling between Concord and Acton on one-way trips, which is really exciting and shows that people are actually going to the different areas, whether they're coming into West Concord Village to go shopping or eat, or they're traveling the opposite direction and going to the grocery stores or going to participate in some of Acton's activities. So that's been really encouraging. The accessible bikes have been very popular since we put them out this summer, and I anticipate that they will continue to be very popular. We are very hopeful that we will be able to get funding again for next year to continue the program. I'm currently pursuing a couple of different options, and I'm speaking with Acton to see if we can continue that partnership and find them funding as well, or joint funding, so that we can make sure that we can continue this and then possibly expand in the future. Because my hope is that we have more of a regionalization so that we can have people continue, whether it's down the Bruce Freeman or to surrounding towns. I know that I've spoken to Lexington and Lincoln in the national park, especially around Rev 250, to see if there's a possibility of maybe expansion there so that we can have another way for people to get around.
What
That's
was
not
the
my
funding
vehicle.
source? Where'd the money come from?
So we had some funds left over from a previous year. So we used some of that, and about, I think we had 10,000 left in that, and then the remaining, I think 5, something like that. My numbers might be a little bit off. Came from the visitor center.
Was there a different funding source for the 2 accessible bikes?
Those were bought outright I think it was last year. So either last year or the year before. And those, I'm not 100% sure where the funding came from for those. I believe it might have been through the visitor center, but I'd have to check on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Erin, it might be, if this is going to be kind of a growing thing, it might be helpful to maybe add a section to our report about the bike share program, and so we can kind of see how it's growing and maybe drum up some more interest in it. So that's great. Thank you for responding on that. Barbara, do you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Great, thank you. And thank you for reminding me to remind it at the public session. Are there any other public members of the public who have a question or want to raise a point? Okay. In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Motion to adjourn, yeah.
Okay. And can I have a second?
Second,
Thank you. I just want to note for the record that Brian Krauts had to drop off for another call. We still have a quorum. So with that, I'll do a roll call. Mary Beth Barker.
aye.
Adrian Boardman.
Aye.
Dorcas Miller.
Aye.
Nat Welch. Aye. And so the meeting is adjourned at 7:56 p.m. I'd like to thank all of you and look forward to seeing you next month. Thanks again.
Thanks. Feel better, Nat.